place. Motivational Radio Friends from Paris with your host, Lonji Agoha.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I am privileged to be talking to a Nigerian who is a wealth coach who teaches you how to create wealth. And his name is Emeka Nwankwo. He is going to tell us how to create wealth from our salaries, from what we earn every day, or the little money we have. And so, Emeka, how are you today?
I'm fine.
I am okay. We are finer now that you're talking to us, okay?
Thanks for the...
Okay, good. So, I'd like us really go into the main thing. How would you define financial mastery or financial knowledge, and how do you define it?
Well, first and foremost, keyword there, how do you define mastery? Simply means having a thorough knowledge, being in control of some, having skills, great affinity, great control over something. You know it so well or well enough to do, and that means the direction you want things. For the opposite is a lack. When you're ignorant of something, it's risky, you are poor, and then you are bound to have challenges making progress in that direction. So when you talk about financial mastery, you're talking about being, knowledgeable about money, how it's made, how it's managed, how it could be multiplied, and then putting yourself in total control, first your personal finance, and then of other, and then thereafter having to create much wealth from what initially you have, and then over time have control over other things, because at the end of the day, money determines most of the things that we have. Money determines where you live, how far you go in life. I know some people say money is not the most important thing in life. I can tell you it's up there with us.
Okay, so money is very important. We all know that. And that is why a lot of us go to school believing that maybe with our degrees or our diplomas, we will have a nice job to make us make enough money to live with. And know that sometimes this might not be the case, because having diplomas or degrees is not a guarantee for being wealthy, is it?
No, it's not. I don't know how many professors you know that are really, really very wealthy and are financially. I don't know too many. Certainly, my university professors, many of them, I can tell you, are still working even at 60 and 70. If they are free, they wouldn't be doing so much to earn money. So basically, knowledge is good, but knowledge is not everything, especially when it's not functional knowledge. Now, to be financially free, to make enough money to stay afloat and go beyond that, be comfortable, and then even talk about being financially free, you need to go beyond just knowing about money. You need to be skilled, in about money. You need to know how, take control of your finances. You need to be careful about using that money to create more money. Spend money on errand. And then, everything has the capacity to enlarge, to increase, like when, it's actually put to work. But now to put money to work, you need to get mastery. To get mastery, you need functional knowledge. To get functional knowledge, you get it by getting and learning just how it works. Now, this is not taught in school, unfortunately. It should be, but it's not. Mm-hmm. And so it takes personal responsibility, personal development, financial intelligence, and a lot of financial education to get on top. Thank you.
But how do we develop that skill? How do we develop that financial knowledge that all of us lack? Because you said it, that it's not taught in school. How do I develop my financial knowledge in order to remain afloat? Because if I am paid 1 million euros or 1 million naira, as the case may be, or $1 million, and I use all of the 1 million, I am still as broke as somebody who received just a very small chunk of the money. So how do I get financial knowledge or the financial skills to help me leverage on what I have?
Again, I go back to the best. How do I learn how to drive? I learn how to drive first. I have a desire, right? So I tell people it all starts a desire to be free, to not have money determine and be just how to live your life. Some people live paycheck, month to month, and I can tell you, earning so much, and yet they're not. Why? Because money alone does not make it. The knowledge about money. It is the control over money. It is having relevant skill over money or about money that actually delivers, into your hand the necessary ingredients to create wealth. So the starting point first and foremost is to have a strong desire to be knowledgeable in this area. And then secondly, just like my example about learning how to drive, you need to find someone really has the knowledge and the skill so that they can, so it's transferable. The knowledge is transferable. So I need to find someone, like I tell people, I'm a wealth creation coach. I'm also a financial intelligence coach. I do a lot of financial training for people. So it's by training too. So I ask people, when you start knowing that money is something I can master, something I can control, and if I can control it, I need to learn how to control it. It starts with controlling your paycheck. That's what you have. That's all you have at the beginning. You don't have money in the bank, don't have much, left behind by your parents or something, but you have your paycheck. So start with it. How much do you spend at the end of the month? If you can't answer that simple question, it means there's a big problem. So I tell people, start with, I earn €100, I earn €1,000, I earn 100,000. How much of it goes into recurrent and how much of it goes into capital project? Where reserve they go? How much of reserve do I have? Because until I have reserve, I can't do anything extra. Let's pay bills. And that's not why we're here. We're here to create value and then earn more from the value, and then we'll be covering. So I tell people, you start with what I'm having a budget in place, and it's simple to do a budget page. I'm going to pay for my gas. I'm going to pay for it, and put figure things in front of them, and then calculate it. I think just how much I spend every month. If at the end of that exercise, you have been smart all this while, you are spending more than you are earning. Congratulations. But what does it mean? It means you are borrowing from somewhere to spend. It may not be apparent, but simply it is like, dimming your future to brighten your present. It's like, borrowing from the future to subsidize the present, a recipe for disaster. So I tell you, that's the first place you need to take control. You need to take control of the paycheck and then take it one step at a time. I need to pay down my or increase my income. So it means, for some people, it means working an extra job. But even if I work 3 jobs and I don't have control of my expense, it will eventually become as big as my income, no matter how big the income is. So it takes us back to financial education. I need to understand that money flows. Money is the currency. Money is cash, and it's cash flow. So I can control it. So what do? I create a budget that makes sure that it limits the assets I have to fund loose funds, put away the excess surplus to a different place where I can have access, and then try somehow to live within the limits of the budget I have. And then, of course, over time, turn the extra surplus into investable funds that I can use to acquire an asset. I can now push more income into my income fund. That's actually where.
In fact, this reminds me, I don't know if you have answered my second question, which is, how can a layman free himself from the clutches of money? I mean, have you answered it, or is it possible to throw more light on that? How can a layman on the street, how can he start, where can he start from to have this financial knowledge, very elusive financial knowledge? How is it? How can he start?
As elusive as it may appear, it's not taught in the high towers or ivory towers. A lesson and a training and opportunity is available to everybody. As simple as I can tell you, everybody in the marketplace knows how to do it. Just, I tell people, wealth creation is first and foremost discipline. I've seen market women who did not go to university, who did not finish high school, had so mastered money that when I see them, I pay them a lot of respect. Why? They understand simply. If anybody can understand this simple truth, money is a bad master, but a good servant. If I respect money, money will respect me. So the first respect you pay to money is make sure you treat money as something valuable. It's valuable, so you need to spend some time thinking about how relate. Money could be spiritual. Money could be very important. Money could be personal. Money could become, an overbearing, boss over our life, but it will also become a very willing servant. So the average person on the street needs to understand that every coin, every kobo that comes into my hand, every dollar that comes into my hand has a purpose. That's the starting point. So the layman has to understand that money has a purpose. There's a reason why God sent it into your hands. There's a reason why He came. A fool and his money are soon parted. If you don't know the purpose of money that comes in, then you need to look for someone who will value it more and who will probably extract more value from it. So it starts with, first and foremost, understand that money has value and then place the right value of money. I don't see 1,000 naira as what it could buy today. I see 1,000 naira what it could become tomorrow. If I invest it well, if I manage it properly, if I put a structure around it that can make it multiply, 1,000 naira is worth 1 million naira, maybe in 5 years' time, maybe in 10 years' time, maybe in 20 years' time. So I need to see that. If I see that, then I've answered the first question of how do I relate with money. The second thing you need to do is to now begin to ask yourself, how do I live in such a way that I will always have a surplus? It's possible to always have a surplus. No matter how lowly you are paid, no matter how highly you are paid, it's simply sitting down to put it down. If I don't have the money, I can't spend it. If I have the money, I need to spend it. To spend it well, I need to know how to spend it. So it's those simple basics, those simple disciplines, those simple enforcement, and those simple sacrifices that create the foundation for a bright future.
How can anyone learn to be financially free? Now, what I'm trying to say here is it possible, since we don't learn it in school, do we need to come to your coaching classes? Do you do coaching online? How can anybody reach how can anybody who wants to learn this thing, platform?
I do more of offline coaching, but it could also be done online. Like what we are doing, this session we are doing, I do a lot of coaching for people who are across the city, who can't, journey, make the journey. So I do a lot of Skyping, a lot, in 21st century, in this world of social media, of a lot of online tools, distance is not really a problem. So one could have a personal coaching session. One could also come into one of our training sessions or seminar classes where we actually take people through, a financial, master class, where we start basically getting people to be aware of their lack of financial literacy. Accomplishment does not substitute, is not enough to give you, the kind of life you desire in today's financial world. So what happens? We let people see their need for financial education, and then we recommend tools that can help people to come up to speed. Simple tools to do basic budgeting, family budget, basic tools to do a financial snapshot. So to see where am I? Because until someone knows exactly where he is, progress is not measurable. And then thirdly, we help people to design a financial map of where they want to get to. If I enter London today and I have a map of London, it's easy to trace my route and eventually get to my destination. So we help people create a financial map, where they could plot the direction they want to go. How far away do I want my retirement to be? I want to retire in the next 5 years. It shows you clearly what the action point, the things you need to do today, the books you need to read, the skills you need to develop, and the actions you need to take, and of course the discipline you need to you need to give to actually arrive at that destination. And then also lastly, we help people to have in place a checklist and a document that helps them to track their progress, to measure their progress, weekly, to measure their progress forecasted versus actual, achieved, and then also help them not to, when initially they are not able to meet those. So over time, we find that people actually fall in love with this way, where they are not just, someone is not just hitting them on the head and pumping a lot of jargon and theory into them, but actually they are involved in designing their financial future and taking control of their financial future. So basically what happens after a while, people fall in love with this method, and then they actually take control, and then they drive.
It reminds me of somebody who said the next best thing that anybody can have is to have this financial literacy. You need to know what money is, because if you take it to heaven, anywhere we're going to, whatever we do, we're all looking for money. The question is, when the money comes, how do we manage it? How do we manage it to leverage it so that the money can multiply? And if we're not able to multiply this thing, then we'll be as poor as, as if we're not working. But I guess that is not the main aim of anybody. We want to become, if not rich, but at least well enough to buy anything that we want or go to anywhere we want to go without the problem of money. And this thing is something that really hampers everybody. It touches everybody, both big and small, rich and poor. We need to be financially literate. And this is exactly what you are giving us tonight, which is this evening. This is very, very good. I mean, it's really very interesting to have somebody of your caliber who has agreed to come and really coach us, tell us exactly how to go from A to B, B to C, and all that to get the thing. Now, would you accept? Do you have any known tool that you know, or the one you use, that you can recommend to people so that they can either go to your website to buy? I mean, how do you, if anybody wants to know how to get your product, how do we get it? Where are you online, for example?
Yeah, I'm online. For now, most of the content I have goes to my blog. I have a blog that I maintain that has a lot of viewership and following all over the world. The blog address is www.emekanwanfo.com. Basically focuses on teaching people how to get out of debt. Of course, there are good debts, I must confess. There are debts that helps to create assets, debts that helps you to build a system that brings cash back into your asset column. Good debts. But of course, people need to get out of debt. Debts, that accumulate a lot of liabilities, and then how people can take control and all that. Secondly, we have a lot of offline tools. Now we still have a lot of them online. We are building on getting them online. But we have a lot of online tools, and at this stage, I think I must recommend a lot of tools from Robert Kiyosaki. If you are looking at being financially free, you need to get hold of every material you could get, on Rich Dad Poor Dad series, the books, the cash flow game. These are tools that can help you open up your mind. I tell people the mind is like a parachute. If it's closed, it's no use to nobody. But once opened, it will really save a life. So get hold of any of these tools. I think you can start from there, expand your mind, see the direction that you need to go, and then we can take it from there.
Good, which is very good. Now we still go back to the layman attitude, the layman thing. What would you recommend first for any layman to start from? Is it making a kind of an inventory of one's life, see how much you spend and how much you earn, and then start from there? How do you recommend it? Which one comes first?
Interestingly, what comes first, that is you. What do you want out of life? You want to walk till you get to the grave? You want to work and then retire and then depend on a 401 or social security or pension where it exists? You want to work and then get old and be dependent on your children, or you want to work and retire early and go see the world? So in that book, I can also recommend the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The book that has blessed me so much. It talks about starting with the end in mind. What exactly how do you want to be remembered? I tell people, the reason we have to create wealth, we have to be well off, we have to be comfortable, so that we can also build legacy. We can also help. There's so many people. There's so much poverty in the world. There's so many people that are looking for a helping hand. You could be the one that can build a season that could be a helping hand. There are so many people that are waiting. There are so many people that are waiting, for good hospitals. There are so many, good that could be done once I have the means. I don't want to spend my life making a living. I want to actually live my life. So you start with the end in mind. What kind of future do I want? How quickly do I want? Where exactly do I, so those are the kind of questions I have that helps them unlock their potential. When they think about 5 years from now, where do you want to see yourself? How do you want to appear? How much progress would you like to have made? There are such questions irrational. They help people to begin to, aspire, to look forward, to, have a vision of where they really want to take their life to. And then with that, it becomes easy to ask people to make commitments about their future. So that's when it comes to how much do I really spend today? How much do I put away so that I can build that future that I desire? Because nothing happens by accident. You need to make it happen. So I tell people, what you need to do is have a future that you desire, and then let's look at what it takes to build that bright future. And then it may involve having a budget. It may involve, keeping my expenses, having multiple streams of income. It may involve developing a business and skill, in a different, so that I can increase my, cash inflow. So it may involve so many things. But the most important of all them all is to have a vision of the future.
Okay. So financial freedom, financial mastery, financial literacy and all that, these are the things that, the word that circulates, that comes around every time. People are very much afraid of this word, how to gain financial freedom, how to master money, how to master your life and all that. It's really a big word and people are very, very much afraid of it. It's very unfortunate that it's not taught in school, and people like you are helping to bridge that gap, that literacy gap, where the school is not helping, because only very, very few selected schools teach, the financial freedom and all the financial literacy. Every other school does not. There was, I think it was, I can't remember, it was Jim Rohn who said that he went to the university and spent about 2 years. And he said, over the 2 years he stayed in the university, if there were financial classes for, financial literacy classes, that he would have attended all the financial literacy classes. But there were none at that particular time. And so he spent the 2 years at the university doing nothing, and that was it. So he didn't learn very much from the school, what like what he said. So he didn't learn very much, and so thank God people like you are there to really bridge the gap of financial literacy into the world. So thank you very much. It is such a wonderful episode talking to you. Nice time talking to you and getting something very, very fundamental from you. I don't know, is it possible? Would you agree to come back to our station one day to come and, because I'm sure if I put this in online, a lot of people would listen to us and the people will ask questions. Would you accept to come back and, answer their questions one day, maybe on a live program?
I will. For me, this is not just a calling. It's also something I'm very passionate about.
Okay.
I want to say as many people as possible take responsibility of their lives, take control of their lives, and live to the fullness of God's purpose and God's endowment in their lives, and then be free, and then create opportunity for that all to benefit from their lives. So for me, it's always a pleasure to find myself on a platform where I could actually get across this message that everybody is our right to be free, is our right to be wealthy. The world will become a better place if we all have freedom in this regard. And so to make it possible, definitely I'll be much, much, much happy to do that. Thank you.
Wow, that's good. Now, what we'll do is, so could you tell us exactly how somebody can reach you? You have the right to, tell us if you have a website, if you have a blog, what's the name of the blog, if you have a phone number, just in case anybody wants to call you after listening to this program.
Okay. I'm on all the social media websites, so you can reach me on Facebook at www.facebook.com/emekaonline. You could get me on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter on my Twitter handle is at emekaonline. You could also reach me from my blog. You could drop a message on my blog site, www.emekaonline.com. You could get me on phone on +234 Nigerian code 8072690006. These are me. You could also send me an email. I love emails. I get emails from all over the world. Send me email on mx_14@yahoo.com.
Wow, that's wonderful. Do you have any book written yet? Have you published yet, or is it in the process?
Yeah, it's in the process. I have quite a lot that is yet to come out. But I have a lot of content. So if you follow me on the blog, follow me on the Twitter, you get a lot of free stuff for now. I have a book that is hitting the stand very soon, the 21 Laws of Financial Freedom. Very soon it's going to be on the tables. I also have, a book that is also coming out very soon, The Poor Man in Heaven. It's basically written for the Christian audience, simply showing that God's desire for us is to live in a financial heaven here on earth. And if we don't know that, it will be more in the midst of plenty. And so I have quite a lot, I also developing a lot of content, video content, going to be on YouTube very soon. So it's quite a lot happening here. And very soon, it's going to be all out there for you to have access to.
Wow. So I hope you come back to tell our listeners when these things are coming out so that they would enjoy, they would see, they would learn from you. It's been nice talking to you. It's a pleasure talking to you. So please come back, and when next you're free, come back to our station and tell us, give us your stuff, your knowledge, and we'll be ready to take it anytime. All right?
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, me too. The pleasure is to be shared. It's wonderful talking to you. So finally I got you online. This is very, very, very interesting. I love it. I have loved every bit of all that we have discussed so far. And I hope our listeners would also enjoy listening to you, learning from you, and getting all the knowledge. And I hope I will call you again very, very soon to come and give us your more knowledge on all the things you know. We want to really, share your brain a little bit, all the things you have in there. We want to take a bit of that.
Thank you so much for having me. I would love to come back anytime.
Right, okay. This podcast was brought to you by the Motivational Radio France with their host, Lonjago and Paris. You are listening to Motivational Radio France with your host, Lonjago and Paris. Mr. Abo, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Lonji, and how are you over there?
We are certainly very, very good. No problems.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yes. So I met you some 3 months ago, and I was very impressed by your actions and what you did and the impressions you left on me. And ever since I started the radio program, I've always thought about you, and why I said that let me give it a shot and get you online, so that we can rub minds and thrash issues out. And when I read your book, I read this book in 2 weeks. It was really, really very good. An eye-opener for me. I have it here. Although I have read it at least 2 times, and all the things give very practical examples. And so our many listeners would like to hear your views. They'd like to really get some insight into how somebody can get financial freedom. So what is financial freedom, sir?
Yes, thank you very much, Lunch, for having me on your show.
Thank you.
Perhaps I could start by giving some background to why that book was written. That is financial freedom for every busy professional. The first book I also wrote was Financial Freedom for Every Youth. And what started me on that path was an incident in a place I invited to speak. That was in Enugu State in Nigeria. And I had a couple of hundreds, but before I started, the gentleman that is to me told a story. He did talk about a young girl who needed bathroom slippers. And at that time, bathroom slippers were just, a pair of bathroom slippers was just 60 naira, which is about 40 cents. And, but this girl couldn't buy bathroom slippers. She couldn't afford it. And then a man comes along and says to her, so why don't you sleep with me? And I'll buy you a pair of bathroom slippers. And this girl did. And he bought her a pair of bathroom slippers. And at the same time, she got pregnant. Now, when I heard that story, I didn't know such a thing was possible. And at that time, I was still working with share, and I knew there was poverty in the land, but never occurred to me the poverty was to such a level that girl for the sake of bathroom could sleep with a man. Now, if you want to sleep with a man because you want to, that's a different thing. That you sleeping with a man because you can't afford 16 naira is a different thing. And so I came up with this book to tell the young people, hey, listen, it's not that bad. You are more powerful than you can actually realize. You have potential in you. You just need some bit of wisdom and knowledge to set an enterprise going that can fund you. So going specifically to your question, freedom is not necessarily an amount of money. It is being in that, it's a status, being in a position that you are able to do the things you want to do on this earth without money being an issue. And so you are able to pursue your dreams, you're able to pursue your destiny, not being stopped because there's no money, but you're actually in that life. So it's not an amount of money, more like a status that we all need to work on achieving, allow us to do whatever we want to do, because every dream has a financial implication. Every desire has a financial component. Therefore, if we don't master our financial life, we're going to be very miserable, and many times we'll be unable to accomplish things that we'll do. And that's basically what financial freedom do for you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very wonderful insight you've given us there. And so could you bring it nearly down to practical aspects? How can someone achieve that financial freedom? Because the story is really, really touching. But then how can I or any person listening to us anywhere in the world and say, okay, tell me how I can do it from A to Z, if it's possible? Is it possible to tell us with one concrete example of how can somebody start and then continue from there?
It's very, very everybody on the street to achieve financial freedom. The very first thing that, perhaps if I use my own experience, I worked in very big organizations, multinational organizations. I actually started my career with Shell, and from Shell, well, I went to work in Chevron in Nigeria, and after a couple of years in Chevron, I went back to Shell. So, and then all this while I was working, I saw quite some bits of money, because these are good jobs in Nigeria, really very well paying jobs, and so much money came in every month. But then, to my surprise, I found that at the end of the month, I still lacked money. I didn't have money, and then sometimes my wife would ask for money to fuel her car or to buy something for the house, and at the end of the month, even though I earned so much every month, the money was not there. Now, so the beginning for financial freedom for me started when I read a book written by a gentleman called Robert Kiyosaki. He's got,
the rich dad and the poor dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay.
And then soon after reading that, I read George Clason's The Richest Man in Babylon.
Okay, know that.
And that was some very important revelation to me, because here I was, a professional working in Shell, earning so much money. But then, I didn't have shares in the market. I mean, I was a very academic person. I was intellectual, and I was like, go to school, get a very excellent degree, come out,
and then.
Yeah. And so I was very academic, very bright. I got prizes in school, in my secondary school, came first in class, so I was kind of person. But then the school never really exposed me to the economic part of surviving the world after school.
That's right.
And so all I knew was, just go to school, come out, and get a good job, and that's it. But then when I read this book, it did open up my eyes to possibilities, financial possibilities that started, in fact, the only thing that switched for me was the financial intelligence, just or the language of money, being aware of just what money is all about, and how to make it, how to manage it, how to share it, how to use it, and that's what that did for me. And I would say that for anyone to achieve financial freedom, the very, very first thing would be to put aside money. You don't spend everything earned. At the end of the month, you must, or whether you get a gift or you do some project and then you pay it. The fundamental rule for financial side something. Now we have these which we and money. They spend everything. They treat it as bread and they eat up everything. Then you and I know that any farmer that eats the seed for the freedom, for anyone that wants to achieve financial freedom, you must begin by that financial discipline of setting aside a percentage, at least 10% of what you earn. And now you've said that the next thing would be to acquire the skill for investing. You've got to put that money into something and then watch it, and then develop some financial discipline to watch that thing grow and then to give it time to mature. Then the other dimension of financial freedom is the planning. You can sit down and say, this is the kind of lifestyle I want to live. I want to send my children to this kind of school. And so, for instance, if I want to send my children to Harvard, and then Harvard tuition, for instance, $80,000 a year, I can sit back and say, okay, my children are going to go to Harvard in 5 years. What am I going to have to do today to be able to generate that kind of income to fund their education? Now, so financial freedom is a plan. It's not something that happens by luck. It's something that you're deliberate about.
Okay. Thank you very much. I mean, that is very, very insightful. You are listening to Motivational Radio France with your host, Longiago in Paris. You are listening to Motivational Radio France with your host, Longiago in Paris. Because, if I understand what you're saying, that you need to sit down to plan. and save money.
Absolutely.
In one word. Okay, that is wonderful. I hope our listeners would enjoy your insightful topic and the way you really explain it in very, very clear terms. So I'd like to know, you said, how can we transform your salary to money pinning asset? What is it? I mean, your salary, maybe if you earn like maybe 20,000 naira a month, how can you transform 20,000? What is it? How can you go from 20,000 to more than that? What is it?
Yeah, the amazing thing, Lonji, is that if you know what to do with money, even 5,000 naira can do a lot. If you know what to do with money. We have this very fantastic story about the Nigerian lady who the husband had lost his job and the family fell in very hard times and things kept depleting in their home. Had just 1,000 naira. And I tell you what, this woman just sat down, driven by desperation. So what can I do with this 1,000 naira? So she made a list and said, I'm going to go to the market and buy beans, buy crayfish, buy pepper, buy that. And I'm going to make more out of it, and I go and sell it, So, and that's exactly what this woman did. And then she went to somewhere in Victoria Island and sold the moi that day and made 5,000 naira out of it.
Wow.
From there, she reinvested, and as I talk to you today, at some point, that woman was actually invited by Goldman Sachs to New York, all expenses paid, to for things, because now she's a multi-millionaire.
Wow.
All from 1,000 naira. And so if people know what to do with money, even 20,000 naira is a lot. And that's why I focus on encouraging people to acquire financial intelligence, because once you have financial intelligence, even 10,000 naira can do a lot. Now that people, professionals who work in some organizations do get bonuses, and then they do get some bulk payments, sometime within the year. And then what some very smart people have done in Lagos, for instance, is when they get their car allowance, instead of buying a beautiful Mercedes or one of these big cars just to answer big names and all that have big cars, you know what they do? Buy this 18-seater bus. And then in the morning, when they're going to work, they're going from Oba, for instance, to CMS.
Yeah.
They carry people, and people register with them. They carry people who are also going to the island for work, and they drop them. And then in the evening, people also join them, and they travel in this bus and then go to Oba with him. And in a day, you find this gentleman making 10,000 naira a day.
Wow.
And that's something from just making a shift in the way that people use their salaries. So you can sit down and say, okay, this is something I can do part-time. So from the money that you have saved, apart from putting it into paper assets like stocks, you can actually find some things you can do by the side with that money. Because the interesting thing is that we live in a generation where just earning money through one means is no longer enough. So everyone is working, must find a way to multiply, if you like, his 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread into something much bigger.
So are you trying to explain the multiple streams of income?
In a way, that's also implied, yes.
Okay.
In a way, multiple streams of income is implied, and basically, in my village, the old people say that if all you know to do is to fish, what are you going to do when the river dries up?
That's right.
Yeah, and there's wisdom in that, because if you put
all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. If all you're earning is from your salary, what's going to happen when you quit that job? And you can see what's going on in Spain, Portugal, Greece, all over the world today, because people are just, they lost their jobs, and that's all. But if you lose your job, but you already had some passive income coming in from some real estate investment you've done before, or you have some skills that you can outsource. You can do consulting by the side. Then you find out that if money is coming to you in at least 4 or 5 different ways, if one is shut down, then you are not completely
out of the line.
Yes, that's what multiple streams of income will do for you.
Okay, thank you very much. This is really very, very good. I hope our listeners would enjoy this, and I would implore all of them to buy your book, financial freedom. Can you present your book, please, so that your listeners could, and tell us where they can find it?
Yeah, the book is Financial Freedom for Every Professional, and in it, I use particularly examples that are very, very concrete to the African.
That's
because
right.
most of the books that come from the West, they have examples and illustrations that people don't relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the very first time someone is actually doing this kind of book for professionals, and then I'm basically putting all the mistakes I made, as someone working in Shell, having lots of money, but not managing it well, and then telling people to avoid that kind of mistake. There are chapters that show you how you can own your own house, even from your salary, as
That's
little
right.
as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't say you're financially free if you're still living in another person's house paying rent. So the book discusses all those, and then different things, that people can actually do with their salary. At least 30-something things you can do with your savings. So the book can issues with distribution, with channel distribution actually in Nigeria for now. I mean, we're not as in Europe, where people can actually order based on.
But can we get it? Is it possible to go through online? Is it possible? Is there any place if we go that can we see it? Is it possible?
There is that you can actually get hold of the book if you go to. There's a major bookstore in Lagos that's called Horse.
Okay.
Yes, in the Palms in Victoria Island.
Okay.
And then also, if you go to our website, we're going to upload places people can actually buy the book. So I think I would advise going to our website. We're going to put up in the next couple of hours. We're going to put up different addresses where people can actually get the book.
Okay.
And then people can also contact me directly.
Okay. Can you give your number, please? Your phone number.
Yeah. If they follow me on Twitter.
Okay.
Yes, and the Twitter handle is at
Ogbo
Awoke Ogbo, and Ogbo Awoke Ogbo is OGBOAWOKEOGBO. Yes, and then they can contact me directly, and we can tell them how to get the email, get the books. And again, they can also call the number 0808 799 777.
Okay.
And,
then don't forget to put +234 for Nigeria.
+234. That's correct.
Okay.
+234.
Yeah.
808 999 777.
Okay. Wonderful. That's wonderful. At least anybody who wants to get your books, a hold of your book, would know exactly where to go and how to reach you. All right, so let's continue a little bit more. In your book on page 64, you said you cannot cure ignorance with prayer. Could you explain that?
I am presenting to this part of the world because we live in a culture where everything is prayer. And most things people are praying for is just something that a little bit of knowledge can take care of. And people would rather pray, in quotes, than confront their ignorance or confront their problems. And then the common thing here is when people are not doing well, either financially or in their career, the common excuse is that there's some enemy in the village, maybe their uncle, their mother-in-law is after them.
You are listening to Radio France with your host, Longiago in Paris.